Welcome to Inside Athletic Training, a podcast from the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainers Society, where Major League and Minor League athletic trainers share insight into athletic training at the highest level. This week on Inside Athletic Training, we welcome in Anthony Reyes, the head athletic trainer for the San Francisco Giants. Enjoy the show. All right, Anthony, welcome to Inside Athletic Training. We're thrilled to have you on for our 23rd episode. We like to start each episode, as many of our guests have heard, by asking you to share some information with the listeners about the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainer Society, also known as PBATS, and really what the society means to you and your career.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I appreciate you having me on. PBATS is definitely a great learning source for athletic trainers that are in baseball, that are aspiring to be in baseball, and young students who are looking for a career path. And PBATS to me is just, they have the characteristics of athletic trainers in a sense that they're a tireless group of members who really care about the athletic trainers and helping others, and throughout their community outreach and helping people, offering leadership opportunities in the executive board. It's just a really great society to be a part of, and I'm really appreciative of all the efforts of the members and how they treat the members and let them have a voice, because this society definitely pushes the envelope when it comes to changing the game, when it comes to helping Major League Baseball with health and safety issues in our game, and helps improve our work-life balance and make things easier for us as a group.
Yeah, and obviously PBATS has been on the forefront of leading the charge toward just a better life overall for athletic trainers, working with MLB, people like John Coyles and everyone up there. So it's really been great to see what you and all your colleagues do to grow the profession. Well, Anthony, you're currently in your 6th season now as head athletic trainer with the San Francisco Giants, 12th year in total at the Major League level with the Giants. We'll get into your job and career path in a bit. But first, like we start with every guest, let's hear a bit about your background. Where are you from? What kind of sports were you into growing up? And also where you found your passion and liking for athletic training?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Northern California. My parents migrated from the Philippines and settled down in a town called Hayward, California, about 20 minutes south of Oakland. Growing up, I loved baseball. I was, an Oakland A's fan, a Giants fan. Since we lived so close to Oakland Coliseum, went to a ton of games watching Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire. That's where my passion for baseball grew. And my brother, Johan, he definitely feeded that passion and taught me how to play the game. We'd play wiffle ball, every day in the summer, and just spend a lot of time loving baseball and collecting baseball cards and trying to get them signed and all that stuff. Growing up and playing baseball for my high school team, I definitely found out early that I wasn't gonna make it to the major leagues. I think my calling was on the bench, and I found out very early that I was going to be on the bench for a long time. And fast forward to graduation and going to the University of Washington in Seattle. I was undecided major up there, and trying to figure out what type of career path I wanted to do. It was crazy because I was at a coffee shop just reading the daily newspaper, the student newspaper, and there was an ad for the University of Washington Sports Medicine Department asking for student athletic trainers to come and volunteer. And I think at the time, I don't even think I had the requirement GPA to even be a part of it, but I signed up for it because, I really didn't know what athletic training was. Just like many of the members that I've heard on this podcast, I honestly think I blew out my elbow in high school, and my only interaction with the trainer there in high school was using the cold tub with which was actually a garbage can filled with ice. So I only had that experience with the athletic trainer there. And this kind of piqued my interest because, it brought back my, passion of baseball and going to the University of Washington and trying to find my way through, sciences and subjects like that. I kind of wanted to meld them together. And this was a perfect opportunity for me. And when I applied and they needed the help, it was just an awesome experience to just be at that level of Division I. And my first assignment was with men's basketball, and I fell in love with the grind, trying to get there early, stay there late while managing the academics part of it. And that's where my passion for athletic training grew. Essentially, trying to figure out, UW didn't have a athletic training program, so I had to decide what I wanted to do. And that essentially I transferred to San Jose State to continue my degree as an athletic trainer.
That's really interesting. I think one of the key and funny things that we've heard from a lot of our guests is we all, including myself, we all thought we were going to be big leaguers at some point, and it certainly worked out for none of us. 0% hit rate there, so that's a common theme. But no, it's interesting to get to know all of you guys and women and see how you found out that athletic training was even a job. Back then there wasn't a PBATS job board or courses or educational symposias. It was like you were reading the newspaper or so-and-so met their high school athletic trainer. So really interesting to see how things have changed and how the access that younger people and students have to learn about the profession. But getting onto your career, you started out as an intern in 2004. So clearly you've been in the game for a long time. You've led many important roles at all different levels. I'd like to hear more from you about what it's like getting into baseball athletic training as your profession, and hear more about the path you took through the minor leagues. I know you had stops, like you said, as an intern, Arizona rookie ball, Connecticut, Fresno, where you spent a bunch of time. So talk about those steps and how that kind of made you who you are today as a professional.
Continue on with my story, going to San Jose State. And I was really determined to learn athletic training and get into baseball at the same time. When I had a part-time job at a physical therapy clinic in Santa Clara, and I met this athletic trainer there, Gary Lang, who was very good with his hands. He taught me, how important it is to work with your hands, really improve your treatment protocols with your hands. And, getting to know him, he ends up being one of my, best mentors that I've had still today. We talk all the time, but back then he had a connection with Stan Conte. I'm sending an intern every year from, he was a head athletic trainer at Foothill College, and they send a Foothill College student each year to do an 81-game internship. That particular year, he didn't have an intern to send there. Knowing that I wanted to be in baseball, he asked if I was interested in doing it. And by that time, I was like, man, I wrote letters to all kinds of teams and I haven't got any responses. And this kind of just fell on my lap with the team that I loved, growing up. So it was, heck yeah, I want to do it. Of course I'm going to do it. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. And at the same time, it was my senior year of undergrad, and I had to figure out ways to manage that schedule with taking classes, had to talk to my CIs and clinical coordinators. Hey, I have this opportunity on my lap. Can we please make this work? And the people at San Jose State were great. I can't thank Jeff Roberts and Ellen Payne, who was my CI at the time. They really were supportive of my dreams to work in Major League Baseball. As an intern, I learned the game. I had to kind of tone back my fandom of the Giants a little bit.
Sure.
And I just learned, so much from the current staff there. Stan Conte as the head athletic trainer, Mark Griesbeck as the assistant trainer, and Ben Potenziano as the strength and conditioning / athletic trainer. We didn't have a strength coach solely in major leagues at that time, so it was a dual role for Ben. So, that was my first exposure to Major League Baseball, or to professional baseball. So I think it was definitely a valuable experience to prepare me for my next step, which was the Arizona Rookie League. And before that, even though I did the 81 games or I was supposed to do the 81 games in San Francisco, Stan wanted to make sure that I wanted to do this. And he actually sent me to Arizona to do the instructional league in 2004 in September. So I missed like 20 games in the major leagues so that I can experience instructionally and try to get to know the athletic trainers down there, ask questions, understand that level. And after that, I was finally hired as a rookie ball trainer. After that, we had some changes in 2006 where I was supposed to go to San Jose to work in high A, and I got promoted to double A, like right off the bat, and spent 2 years there. And then I got promoted to Fresno, spent 4 years in triple A. It was definitely like a fast ascent. And I really had to learn on the fly to go from rookie ball caliber players to Connecticut and work with those type of players who, obviously the game's the same, but the personalities are different, the needs are different, and definitely there's so many aspects of double A and triple A that kind of prepare you for the major leagues that you don't see, and you're so far away from it from the lower levels.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I want to touch on next year. That's, you obviously, like you said, very quick ascent to big league baseball. A lot of aspiring athletic trainers in college and, even high school and minor leagues, everyone's in a hurry to get to the big leagues. Obviously that's what you guys and you men and women are all striving for as athletic trainers. Do you think it's hugely important in your experience to have that time in the minor leagues, or do you think there's ever people who are ready to move as quickly as you did up to the big leagues? I know most people say there's so much to learn in the minor leagues, and that's where you kind of learn the game of baseball, like you mentioned. Do you think that's really the formative years, and those are hugely important in the minor leagues for you guys?
100%. When you're going through the minor leagues, you're by yourself. You're experiencing everything on your own. Especially back then, we were by ourselves until a few years later we had strength coaches to rely on to help each other out and go through this together. But yeah, experience is so important. Experience builds confidence. It really prepares you for any situation, because not only doing athletic training duties like covering the game, doing treatments, but you're also learning your craft as a psychologist, as a travel coordinator, sometimes in different, we had in our organization, but you're really, honing your craft as a problem solver, someone that, you want to be the problem solver for the team and the player, and you want to be the guy that people go to, that you want to help out. And that's like the driving force that many athletic trainers have, to just make a difference, make an impact in people's careers.
Yeah.
So I think the experience is key. The patience is that, you have to kind of compartmentalize your career and just be like, I'm in double A right now. I have to do everything I can to learn this level and ask a lot of questions of my coordinator, how we plan or communicate with each other, and how to make rehab plans better, how to take care of our guys, and just really refine those tools so that if you spend 3 or 4 years in double A, you feel like you're ready for the next level. And I feel like you never feel ready for the next level, because you just don't know what it's going to be like. But at the same time, it's just like you can always lean on those experiences to, if you see that situation happen again in AAA or even the major leagues. So patience is definitely important, and just once you realize that, like building relationships in each level, getting to know so many people that can mold your career, it's definitely, if you have the chance to get to the big leagues, it just makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah. And you talk about making a difference, which all you guys do so much for players and just for your clubs in general. A lot of it goes unnoticed. One guy who's made a huge difference, and a lot of careers, definitely out in San Francisco and Chicago, is Dave Greshner, who now leads the staff as a senior director of athletic training with the Giants. You've known Dave for a long time. Can you talk a bit about what it's like working with someone with so much experience and such a wealth of knowledge in athletic training, and just how that's had an impact on your career as you made your way up to the big leagues?
Yeah, Dave's an awesome boss to work for. He's an awesome human being as well. He just, all that experience that he just has a really good sense, or really good way of, making very complicated situations simple. And it really makes our lives easier when he can communicate those things in such a simple way for us to understand, that it helps us build confidence in what we're doing. And when you feel that, it's just really, everything kind of flows really well. He's a great leader. I lean on him for a lot when it comes to problems. Even in my life, I consider him a really good friend, and always constantly ask him questions, advice on how to do this, and it's such a great resource that he's just right there next to me. So it's like, yeah, it's awesome to have all that wealth of knowledge and experience right there. He's such a respected athletic trainer in the industry, definitely respected amongst our peers. His door is always open to talk, even if he's having like the most stressful day. It's like he always finds a way to just make you feel calm and make you realize, oh, that wasn't all that big of a deal when I needed to talk to you. So that makes a really big difference to the way he goes about everything and how the players view him. And he's such a trustworthy, honest person. So it's like, I've been blessed to have been working with him for this long. He deserves every accomplishment and accolade that he's gotten. But knowing him, he'd pass the buck and give credit to others.
Yeah, of course. Knowing Dave for working with PBATs and all you guys for over a decade now, I've realized he is exactly like that. Such a calming presence, humble, quiet, but such a knowledgeable and respectful guy. So it must be awesome to get to learn from him every day as you work your way through your career with the Giants. Speaking of role models, when you kind of broke into the game, was there a specific person or two who kind of showed you the ropes and kind of taught you how baseball worked as a mentor?
Yeah, I think that's why my internship in 2004 was so important to me. The group that was there, Stan Conte, really taught me how the speed of things were or are in major leagues. Stan's definitely an important person in our industry, with all of his collaborative research on Tommy John and data analytics for injuries. That he's literally changed the game as far as how we look and view injuries and how we treat them and how we have the outcomes that we have, and just being around that type of atmosphere with him and that type of advanced or at least like thinking ahead, and the speed that he works in is unbelievable. And that's like kind of what I learned through my experiences working with him. And unfortunately, when we went to the Dodgers, like I didn't get to work with him anymore. But even move on to Mark Grusbeck as the assistant, he taught me all of his duties as an assistant and all the little things that need to happen in order to make the bigger things work. He really taught me all the nuances of the position to prepare me for when we actually worked together in the big leagues together, when I got promoted. So his mentorship and the time that he spent with me to talk to me about the game and how to think through situations, it was so valuable for me as a new person in that internship. And then Ben Potenziano, his role as a strength and conditioning coach and athletic trainer, he has a really good way of talking to players. And me being a fan at the time, with the Giant or as a Giants fan, and just being awestruck with Barry Bonds in the corner, JT Snow coming in for a stretch, and just me, I was shy, didn't know what to say. And then I would observe Ben and how he interacted with the players, and he just, treated them as like normal people and people that are like you and me just talking right now. And that really was very valuable in how, as I progressed through the system, it's just like, these are people, the baseball players are people too. And that's definitely helped me in this arena now.
Yeah, I think anyone that knows Ben Potenziano knows that maybe the easiest guy in the world to talk to. Just so passionate. The energy he brings is unmatched. I think everyone would agree. And it's he kind of showed me the ropes when I first got in working with you guys. And there's nobody that makes you feel more comfortable. And he really has this way of making you feel like you're the only thing that matters when he's talking to you. And that's something that I've always admired about Ben. And now he's doing great things in Miami, so it's good to see.
I also want to add to, like, that was my experience with the major leagues at that time, and that's what I knew. And a role model for me in the minor leagues is one of my coordinators from 2007, 2011, Jay Williams, with my fast ascent to AAA and the level where I was at. I was actually in AA when he first started. He really taught me the relationships and how important they are, with your field staff, with your manager, and how to talk to your manager. It was definitely made a difference when I talked to him and say, oh, you know what you told me, that really worked. Like I said, with the inexperience that I had, and with his experience with the Braves and now with the Giants, and he's now currently with the Brewers, his tutelage for me was just, it kind of like really just completed my journey in a sense of, how to be a well-rounded athletic trainer. Cause most of my experience I relied on was through a major league experience, because that's where I wanted to be. And going into the minor leagues, it's a little different. There's the goals are different. Everyone's trying to make it to the big leagues, and the dynamics in the minor leagues are just different. And Jay really was really instrumental in just kind of catching me up to speed on what to expect in the higher levels.
Yeah. And, once you do get to the big leagues, with the Giants specifically, obviously, like you mentioned, hometown team, awestruck and such a fan at the beginning. But over the years, you work with the team, and you've been a part of, I guess for the past few decades, the Giants have been such a great franchise. In your time with them, championship teams in 2010, 2012, 2014, just an incredible run there. But also 2016 wild card berth, 2021 division winners. With that in mind, and knowing what we know about you as a hometown kid, does working for a club that wins so much and has such a great history in the area, does that make it more special for you compared to, for example, if you're with a team that was, in constantly rebuilding or something of that nature?
Well, when being a fan and going through those championship runs, I'm really blessed to be a part of those teams. And, when we get to the postseason, it's like nothing else. And that's really where my fandom kind of comes through. Like, I try to hold it back throughout the season and try to stay calm when we come back from, when we have a walk-off win and all that. But, that's when the fun begins during the postseason. Win or lose, like, the season and how we approach it has to be the same. We're grinding, working on our guys and trying to keep them healthy. And, when you're going through these seasons, the stress is still the same. It's not like, oh, we're going to make it to the World Series this year and we're going to win it. And obviously we're going to have that goal, and we start that goal in spring training, and, but the season is so up and down. You're just trying to ride that wave and really like concentrate on that day, making sure we're all on the same page and getting our guys on the field ready to go. I mean, I was really blessed to be in an organization that had developed players, young players, such as Buster Posey, Brandon Bell, Brandon Crawford, all those guys that didn't let it become a rebuild. If we had a losing season, working with players like that and their leadership, we were always looking to win. So that was very helpful in getting through those, low times too.
And on that same note, I know you mentioned Buster Posey, Crawford, Belt, all guys who just staples for that run for the Giants. Do you find that, when teams are winning and you have veterans who can kind of keep things in line, even when things are going poorly, do you find that kind of rubs off on the athletic training staff and, for example, how much time people are spending in the training room with you guys and with performance coaches and really just keeping spirits up because you have veterans like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, veteran leadership they really set the tone on what goes on in the clubhouse. From a training room and performance standpoint, our jobs are to keep that energy up. And ride the high and low wave of the season. Like these players are creatures of habit. They, build their routines. We educate them, the younger players, to build routines so that, they can have that continued success. And as an organization, you always hear, we're playing meaningful games until, September.
Mm-hmm.
So those processes that they've learned and the hard work that they put in, it never really, their processes of going to the training room, going to the weight room and getting their stuff done doesn't really stop until we usually notice a change when, we're out of contention or we're finally eliminated. They, kind of pull the throttle back a little bit.
Sure.
And, you do notice a change in that sense, but all the years that I've been here with the Giants, it usually happens late in the season.
Yeah, you guys have been lucky,
if at all.
Yeah, you guys have been lucky to have so much success there, which makes it, I'm sure, easy to come to work today. And as we all know, this is a job for you. This is a job for the players. Ultimately, it's still work, and it's such a grind through the long season. And speaking of that long season, a lot of our listeners who may not be in professional baseball or in professional sports and who are looking to kind of break in or even just going through high school or college with aspirations of being in your shoes one day, they might wonder what you do all day. So, obviously you're taking some time out of your day to day to speak with us, which is awesome. But I'd like to hear more from you about, the day-to-day duties of the head athletic trainer for the San Francisco Giants. So walk us through, a typical game day, when you get to the park, what you're doing beforehand, what you're doing afterward, and just showing people how, you're not just sitting in the dugout and then heading home after some treatment.
Usually during the mornings, I always wake up and, sometimes I get on the computer and check out the injury report, whether it's from check out the injury report in the minor leagues and see all the injuries on there. Just read, what's happened. Just try to stay in touch of what's going on there. I'll either call Yo Watanabe, our minor league coordinator, just to see how he's doing and ask questions if I have any questions about the injury report and some injuries to key prospects or anything like that. I usually head to the ballpark at around 12:30, grab a bite to eat or catch up on some administrative stuff, either with the EMR or the paperwork that I have to do with ordering stuff. And a lot of our duties are shared with LJ Petra and Dave. The start of the day begins with our 1:30 meeting, our staff meeting, where all of our departments, strength and conditioning, nutrition, key coaches, Dave Kapler, our manager, will be in the meetings sometimes to hear what players' injuries that either happened the night before or what guys are dealing with, some availability issues with current guys in the starting lineup. We'll go over the pitching with Andrew Bailey, our pitching coach, and really the communication for the day starts there. We're all on the same page, making sure that everything flows correctly, especially with our rehab players. Tony Reyes, Frank Perez do a great job with getting our guys back from injury, and then everything they do in the weight room. We also go over all that stuff as well. Mm-hmm. And then once that ended around 1:45, 2 o'clock, players start coming in, and we started doing our treatments. And I love that time as the head athletic trainer, and even with Dave would say as the head of our department, like just working with the guys, trying to get to know what's going on with them. And it's like it really is similar to like a barbershop where, guys are going in, getting their haircut and, kind of dishing their garbage for the day. Yeah. You're also trying to give them treatments while, trying to listen to them talk. We're just having a really great time, just jazzing on each other and all that stuff. So but at the same time, we're getting pulled away, communicating with, updating CAB on specific things, whether it's issues with player, a long-term injury or a current situation where we might have to pull someone from the lineup. Those types of things happen, and that's when you are getting pulled away a lot with as the head athletic trainer or the senior director for that matter. And it's just, you really can't have a routine set for the day. So anything can happen and on any certain day, and we're trying to get guys ready for a game. So during BP, LJ Petra, Dave, myself will either rotate, stay inside, go outside and cover batting practice, watch bullpens, watch their own programs, and evaluate some of the guys that we talked about during the meeting. And if there's any changes, we communicate with each other about those changes and see what their availability is for that night. Mm-hmm. And then talk with Cap again and do the same thing over until the game starts, and ensuring those things happen when the game is going on. And then at the end of the night, after the game, we all start working on our notes, do some post-game treatments, and then repeat the process all over again the next day.
Yeah, definitely a long day, but stuff you're very familiar with, and it's really interesting to hear the stories about all of your favorite parts of the day, and a lot of your colleagues and head athletic trainers and assistants around the league often communicate to me that the camaraderie with the players in the training room, and being part athletic trainer, part therapist, and things of that nature, like you mentioned, is super enjoyable and fun, and you really get to make an impact there. Another thing that I find super interesting about the profession is the camaraderie, not with the players, but that you guys have with other PBATS members and athletic trainers from other clubs across the league, and how that exists in professional baseball. Can you talk about how those relationships with colleagues, whether that's Brian Shulman down the road in Oakland or other people that you speak to at the winter meetings, how those relationships you have with other athletic trainers kind of help you evolve as a person and a professional as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like just talking with Brian Shulman, Mark Rogo with the Padres, Ryan DePanfilo with the Diamondbacks, head athletic trainers that are in our division, specifically also Thomas Albert with the Dodgers. It's really, and the limited time that we usually have to talk to each other, either during the games and even in the winter meetings, it's very important and valuable to me to kind of hear their successes, their failures, and sharing my successes and failures with certain situations. And it just builds relationships and improves relationships as opposed to, kind of shutting each other off because we're competitors in the same division. It really opens up that camaraderie, and we might be rooting for our guys in the background, but at the same time, when it comes to PBAS members, we're pulling for each other, trying to help each other out. And at the end of the day, when something happens on the field, it just improves our outcomes that way. And I'm actually really happy that with the change in the major league schedule, where we actually get to cross paths with different athletic trainers and different divisions more regularly, rather than trying to get to meet them in winter meetings.
Yeah. And one thing, you keep mentioning the camaraderie and the relationships, and nothing more true than the relationships that you guys have within the Giants staff. The continuity that you all have with Dave and LJ and all being together for quite a while is super impressive, as there's often, as you know, can be some turnover across the league within each individual club's athletic training staff. So is there something you credit, maybe it's Dave's leadership or your leadership or just LJ's commitment to the organization? That is something you credit outside of that for keeping your staff together and just growing as a group?
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of things that you can't control when it comes to that type of stuff. And you never know when, your last day in professional baseball is, but just having the best advice I've ever got from actually Carl Cochin, who's a strength and conditioning coordinator in the minor leagues for the Dodgers, is to really just be yourself. And it's just such a simple advice that really resonated with me, because with Dave having that, giving us that opportunity to be ourselves, was really valuable advice for me, just because it really, took out a lot of pressure. And, you really can't think about the outside factors that, no, I can't do this because I'll get fired or anything like that. You just really have to do the best job you can and have consistency in what you do. Always keep learning, always be available for the organization when they call, even if it's in the off season. Have the initiative to volunteer for things, and your reputation as a hard worker will definitely be seen, and it goes unnoticed. And I think when it comes to, longevity and the consistency of doing that day in and day out, all of a sudden you're 18 years in on the same organization.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. I mean, we met maybe a decade or 10, 11, 12 years ago. And at that point you were the assistant, and now you've been in the head position for so long. It really is true that the time just flies. And, one thing that I know can make those times much better for you and people in your position is just the staff you're surrounded with every day. Awesome people in San Francisco, Dave, LJ, and others that we mentioned. But I know you leading the charge as the head athletic trainer, there's a lot of people who kind of make your job easier every day. So I want to give you a couple minutes here to recognize anyone we haven't talked about within your organizational sports medicine department.
Yeah. Our physical therapists, Tony Rally, Frank Perez, Tony is unbelievable when it comes to rehabilitation. I consider him a really good friend, and also our guru. Everyone hires a guru from the outside. We develop the guru from within. He's definitely a really good physical therapist. Frank Perez, he assists Tony with the rehabilitation programs. Hiro Sato, he's a athletic trainer by trade, but he's our manual therapist. He's only 3 years in the big leagues, and he's teaching us things on what to do, what to look for, how tissue quality is. He's unbelievable, and he does great work with our starting pitchers. Our strength and conditioning staff, led by Brad Lawson, his staff, including Saul Martinez, Andy Lyon, they're excellent in cutting edge latest programs and using technology to for buy-in for guys to, reach their peak performance each day, and also, communicating with us and, with modification of programs and keeping guys healthy. Our nutrition staff is second to none, led by Adam Rodriguez, Erica Rebel Gonzalez as well, who travels with us on the road. Deck Noy Intavone and his staff. He's our chef. When I talk about my schedule, I don't eat lunch at home. I go to the ballpark and have 3 meals a day over there because the food is so good over there. They do an unbelievable job for the players and keeping them refueled and everything else like that. And from a mental health standpoint, Shannon Alexander, Emily Tayet, and Drew Robinson. Drew Robinson's story is an amazing story of horrific circumstances turned into a comeback of life. It's an amazing, and what they do with mental health and mental health awareness. It's some life-changing stuff. It's bringing awareness. They've got it to the point where players are freely talking to them and about their issues and things that are going on with their lives, and it's really a part of our daily awareness now. And it's such a great resource to have for our major league players and our minor league players as well. And I can't forget our player development staff from a medical standpoint. Dustin Luker, who used to be a head athletic trainer for the Marlins, and a minor league athletic trainer with the Giants in a previous life. And we hired him back as the director of sports medicine for the minor leagues, and Yo Watanabe, our coordinator. With all the transactions that we do from minor league to major league, and our AAA staff as well, they do an excellent job. We've grown as a staff, and it's unbelievable how many people we have. We started from a dozen people in the minor leagues when I started to close to 40, 50, when you count strength coaches, nutritionists, analytics, biomechanics. It's really developed into a big collaborative effort to just make the organization better.
Yeah,
and our players better.
Yeah, of course, the most important thing. But yeah, it's really cool to see how big and impressive all these staffs have gotten, from mental health awareness, like you mentioned, nutrition. There's so much more going on than even a decade ago when you were an assistant and when you were in the minor leagues as well. So it's really cool to see, and you guys do an awesome job in San Francisco. Some of the best people there. Well, Anthony, I appreciate your time today. It's been great talking with you. But we can't get to the end of the show without what we call a extra base, is a segment where I'm going to ask you 4 quick questions, and you'll be able to share some insight into some of your personal life and some of your favorite things about athletic training and the sport of baseball. So we'll kick it off at first base. I know you guys have a great setup there in San Francisco, but when you're on the road, do you have a favorite athletic training room to work in?
Yeah, from listening from your previous shows, I think I'm gonna not go with Truist Park in Atlanta and mention Citi Field. Ever since I started in 2012, I thought Citi Field was my favorite visiting training room. Obviously, in 2017, Truist Park has an unbelievable training room, but I like Citi Field a lot, and it's a large space. It's close to the batting cage, and it's right across the hall there. And if you're working on somebody and they got to start hitting right after, you just go walk next door and watch them hit. The proximity of that is really, it's the only park like that. And just having a large space is definitely helps us with what we want to do in our jobs.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about the proximity in the space, because that's been a common theme, whether people are, half the guests are saying Atlanta and Truist, everyone mentions that they need space and they need proximity to batting cages, to weight rooms, to things of that nature. So really interesting to hear you guys talk about what makes a special training room. So moving on to second base, I know the listeners learned you're a hometown kid. You're from near San Francisco and Oakland, and the Giants may have the best stadium to watch a game from in terms of views and the water and just the city in general. It's absolutely amazing. It's a lot of our guests' favorite place to sit in the dugout and watch a game. So I know you might be biased, but do you have a favorite Major League Baseball stadium to watch a game from the dugout?
Yeah, I think Wrigley Field really does it for me. The fact that it's like 100 years old, and just kind of imagining, players from that era or played in the same field. It's always intriguing. I'm a baseball fan first, and I just love going there and watching the game and watching a major league game from the best seat in the house. And it's and the things that they've done to the stadium to make it a little bit more modernized, and the atmosphere, the ballpark, the Wrigleyville. I mean, it's really a unique experience there, and I'll always look forward to going that and watching the game there.
Yeah, I think just the idea that it's in a neighborhood tucked away, and all of a sudden you're driving through and you're in Wrigleyville, and it pops up out of nowhere next to a McDonald's. It's a really unique place, and such great history there. So I can't agree with you more on that. Speaking of cities, Chicago, great city like you mentioned. San Francisco is amazing. But do you have another favorite city to visit on the road?
I like going to Seattle. Seattle is definitely a place where I had to grow up a little bit, and going there every time, it really, it's a beautiful city. And the Puget Sound, Lake Washington, the campus of the University of Washington is such a beautiful place. T-Mobile Park, just that area is pretty cool to go out and have coffee and have a couple beers after a game. It's always a fun time going to Seattle.
Yeah, I think the fact that you have the ocean and the mountains is something super unique about Seattle. It's such a great place. Moving on to home plate, the last question for today. So you've been in the big leagues for a while. Like we said, you had an internship there. You have made an extremely fast ascent to the big leagues, faster than most. So I'm wondering, during your first year in the big leagues, either as an assistant or the head athletic trainer, did you have a welcome to the big leagues moment?
I actually get a welcome to the big leagues moment every year. Every time we go to the Coliseum and sitting in the dugout, it kind of reminds me of going home, or back when I was a kid, watching the A's, taking Bart without a ticket before Mount Davis was built. Trying to watch the game through the little spaces with my brother, through the fences, watching Ken Griffey, trying to get autographs behind that bright yellow dugout roof. It really puts everything in perspective for me, and I always just look back on my career when I sit in that dugout and I'm like, wow, I'm really sitting and watching the game in a major league stadium. And unfortunately, it's kind of in this twilight years now, and hopefully I can get that feeling somewhere else.
No, that's awesome. It's really, why we all love the game so much. Even now, it makes you feel like you're a kid. And like I said before, none of us are big leaguers, but we still love the game and have a great time watching, like you mentioned there. Well, Anthony, thanks so much for joining the show. Really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy and have a lot of things going on, but we appreciate you and your dedication to PBATs and the profession of athletic training, and wish you, Dave, and LJ, and everybody over there nothing but the best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, Sam. This was awesome. Awesome experience. Appreciate it.
And that wraps up this episode. Thank you for listening to Inside Athletic Training, a podcast from the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainers Society, a show for athletic training students, educators, and professionals who want to learn more about life as an athletic trainer in major and minor league baseball. If you've enjoyed the show, head over to pbats.com to gain access to other free resources. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, thanks again for listening.